All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to build the second isometric, which you see here in the lower right-hand corner. But we're going to build it in the same design. So we're not going to start a new file. We're going to do it right here. So if you notice off to the left, in the bodies folder, this shape that you just created built a body. If I open that folder and I right-click on the body, I can go up to create components from bodies and click that. What just happened was, you'll notice the bodies folder is gone. Well, it's not gone. If I click this little arrow next to components, which is a new thing that just appeared, you'll notice that the bodies folder is now under that. So what I've just done is I've turned this into a separate component or a separate part. All right? So I've got a little radio button that I can highlight so that if I wanted to make edits to this, or if I wanted to, move it around, look, I can grab it and I can move it around. I can do that when I click this little radio button when I want to edit this. So remember, most things are not a single part. They're made up of multiple components or multiple parts. So this is something for you to start to get used to. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a new component to my design, but I want to do that while my design is activated. So click on the radio button up here, and now my design is activated, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click New Component. You'll see above Assemble, there's a little picture of a couple cubes stacked on top of each other and then a star. I could also right-click on the name of my design over here and pick New Component. Either one of those will work. But what I want to do is I want to give it a name. Probably Isometric 2, maybe. Oops, that's not spelled right. I'm going to hit OK. And then notice how right away my Isometric 2 component becomes activated, and then the other one that I made grays out or becomes like a ghost. I could turn the eyeball off, and if I don't want to look at it, which I don't, and then it goes away. I could also even rename with 2 slow clicks, and I can rename that one to Isometric 1, because that's the first one. Apparently that didn't let me do that. Oh, there we go. Yes, it did. All right, so again, I could toggle this on and off if I want to see it. But I want to start making the second one down here. Before I begin, I should open up this folder. Hang on. Nope, I'm sorry. Open up my document settings and make sure that I'm not in centimeters right now, because now I've got to design this one in inches. So I'm going to click that little paper button. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to switch to inches. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to start my first sketch. XY plane, remember the green and the red axes, pick that face right here. When we're working in assembly mode, if this window ever comes up, which it will, always capture position. This only came up because a moment ago I just moved my first isometric. I grabbed it and I moved it. And Fusion knows that, so I'm going to hit capture position. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with an overall box that's equal to the height and width of that shape in here. I'm going to move this picture over so you can see what I'm doing. Maybe nice and big. I'm going to press D on my keyboard, and I'm going to click on the vertical edge, drag out a second click, and this thing is, if you look, it's 1 inch plus 0.25, so that gives me 1.25. That's my height, and then my width, if I drop that down, you can see is overall 2.75. There we go. I'm going to pan with my hand down here just to get it centered, and then I'm going to right click and press OK to get out of the pan command, and then I'm going to press Finish Sketch, remembering that I can always, I'm going to pan again so I can see it, I can always, oops. You can always go back into my sketch if I made a mistake by opening these little tabs, and you'll see my sketch number 1 is right there. So if I wanted to double click on that if I needed to go back and change dimensions, or if I made a mistake or I jumped out of the sketch too quickly, no big deal, just double click and go back in, and then I can finish it again. Okay. Now I'm going to extrude it to my depth in the negative direction. So in this case, you'll notice the depth is 1/2 of an inch. So 0.5. Oops, I'm going to go to negative 0.5. Negative 0.5. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to make a sketch on the front face, and I'm going to carve it out. All right. So when I say carve it out, I'm basically looking at like this top right corner. It's like there's a rectangle that's cut out of this top right. So if I make a rectangle and I snap it, making sure that that rectangle appears, that means I'm snapped to that corner. Just kind of drag it out. And then there's also a rectangle that's taken out of this corner on the top left. I'll use the fillet command to round this after I cut using extrude. So I'm going to make another rectangle here and bring it in. Okay. So now right click OK to get out of the rectangle command. Press D, and then I'm going to go ahead and dimension the height of this rectangle. You'll notice that right here it tells me it's a 1/4 of an inch, so 0.25. Same thing with this side. It's the same, 0.25. And then the width of this rectangle, if I look here, is 1. So type in 1. Now it does not give me a width for this, but I do know it's overall 2.75. And if I subtract these two numbers, 1 and 1, from 2.75, because you guys are math wizards, you'll know that the remaining is 0.75. Okay, so I'm going to finish the sketch, and I'm going to cut by using extrude. Remember, if you make a mistake, you want to go back into that sketch, double click, make sure that the lines are black, meaning that they're fully constrained. I'm going to finish that sketch, and I'm going to extrude. Now you can pick more than one region, and that's what I just did with 2 clicks. All right, and I'm going to take this arrow. Now since I'm subtracting, I could type in negative 0.5, or I could just drag it further than I know it needs to cut. Okay, so I just drug it, an inch. I know that that's going to cut it, so I'm just going to hit OK. Now the only other thing besides the hole that I have to do is I have to round this outside corner. And you can look at the print, and it tells me that R 0.25. R stands for radius. So I can really easily use this tool right here called fillet, and if I touch that edge right there, I can put in the radius. And in this case it's 0.25, and you'll see it already gives you a preview of that edge being rounded, and I'm going to hit OK. So if I want to spin this around, I can left click and hold on this view cube, and I can spin it around, and you'll start to see that it looks just about what you see here. Now I got to add the hole. I'm going to make a sketch on the face. Now remember, with holes, yes, I could do a circle, and I could place the circle and give it a diameter, and I could dimension how far it is off of this edge, and I could dimension how far off of that edge and cut it. But you need to get into the habit, I'm going to use undo, you need to get in the habit of using the hole command. So I'm undoing, and instead, for every hole, I would like you to create a point. So on a sketch, create a point, drop the point about where you think it is. Okay. When you're done, right click, hit OK. and then dimension only the location of the center point. So from left to right, or you could do from right to left, whichever you choose. But in my print, I see a 1.25 showing me from this edge to the center. So that's pretty straightforward, right? And then from the very bottom of the part, you'll see this 0.75 to the center point. I'm going to use that from here to here, 0.75. So there's my center point. This is an easier way and a better way because I can just hit Finish Sketch, and now I can create a hole. Not a thread. Oops, I hit that too quickly. Create a hole. Okay. Now, all I got to do is touch the center point, and it will automatically create the hole based on my inputs, which in this case, it gives you a picture of the hole, specify the diameter, and you can see the picture showing like the width of the hole. So in this case, it's 0.5. You can see that from the drawing, 0.5. The depth of the hole, this is just default, guys. I mean, the part is only a half thick, so of course this is going to go all the way through, and this would work. But please, if it's a hole that goes all the way through, then tell it all. All means it's going to go all the way through the material, regardless of how thick it is. And you'll see how that picture kind of updates. And then hit OK. So we are done. I'm going to hit Save. And what I want you to notice is, since we built this in design mode, if I turn on my other isometric, you'll see, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, you'll see that it's there. It's grayed out because Isometric 2 has the radio button. If I go over here and I turn on my design, now I have two parts. And if I drag one, I can basically just drag them around, because now I have two different parts in space. And if I spin around, you'll see them kind of sitting out there. Okay? So there you go. Now we've got two parts sitting next to each other. All right. Excellent job. Keep up the good work.